Welcome to CiviliZthan, your self-preparation guide for UPSC. In this video, we will discuss about how to prepare for ancient history for your UPSC prelims and mains. Ancient history is one of the subject in which most of the people don't put much effort into because number of questions asked from this part is always less. Consider like in the prelims you will be getting a maximum of one or two questions, and out of those two questions, one question will be such that you can't understand or you will not know the answer for sure. But with logical reasoning and with correct way of elimination, you can definitely solve this. And when it comes to competitive exam like UPSC, you can't take anything for granted. So have this as your backup. I'm not saying put in all your effort for this part of history, but have your basics ready so that you can at least solve it by the elimination method, and we will teach you how to prepare for this in the right way. See, history is very essential part for your prelims point of view and for your GS1 point of view. GS1, at least 2 to 3 questions will be there in the ancient history part, and which will roughly come about 30 to 45 marks. GS1 is kind of scoring subject, and preparing well in the history part will help you to score more in your mains. So keep your mains in mind and at least have the basic idea of this subject. Don't neglect it completely. Though ancient history marks mere 2 to 3 questions every year, deep understanding of the events will help you to solve the other parts of the history too. See, there was a question recently 2 years back, Ashoka's soft power diplomacy, and comparing it to the current stand of India's foreign policy, like how soft power diplomacy can play a role like then. See, this is how you can link it, and this came in paper too. See, you can't judge how the questions may come, but you should have a fair idea about the given syllabus, and you can't completely skip off one particular subject overall because it can affect you in any instance. Like no one would have thought that this would come in the part in the GS2. So the questions can be framed anyway, and you should be ready to answer them. And the ways in which you should study for this is you should have the basic understanding of what is what, and then link it with the current affair and understand the sequence of events and emphasis on the pros and cons of it. And this is for your mains point of view. Like you should not only know what happened, you should know what was the result of it. You should know not only the Harappan civilization but also its pros and cons, like how good it was, how their society was, what could be the reason why it went off or the civilization ended. That way you have to study it in a systematic way. See, coming to the sources, the primary source for your ancient history preparation is the NCRT, and you can add it up with Tamil Nadu's ancient history textbook. So these are the primary source, and you should have at least read these textbooks at least 2 to 3 times, and you can read it once at a stretch and then make notes for your own convenience, and then read it once or twice. At least you should have read it 2 to 3 times before the prelims for you to understand it better. And the secondary source is definitely a newspaper. Link these both, like what are the things coming in the news recently, then link it with your ancient textbooks. There are so many questions which came this way in the last year's prelims. We'll have a look at it. Coming to this question, in which of the following relief sculpture inscriptions is Ranyo Ashoka mentioned along with the stone portrait of Ashoka? See, this is really important one. Ranyo Ashoka mentioned, that is King Ashoka mentioned along with the stone portrait of Ashoka. See, if you had read your ancient history properly, you will know that only in the inscriptions of southern India, that is the southern part of India, when Ashoka's name is inscribed, and the other places it's mentioned as Piyadasi. Like you know what is Piyadasi, mention it in the comments. So out of these 4, you should know which of the town or city is in the southern part of India. So if you know that, you can answer for this question. You should know that only in the southern part of the country such a thing existed, and you should have a little bit of geographical knowledge. Link that with your basics, you will be able to find the answer for this. Kanganahalli, Halli, Palayam, Puram, all those things will come in South India only, and these are all North Indian towns and cities. So when you have the basic understanding and a little bit of general knowledge like geographical knowledge, you could have solved this question without even studying it. And the second one is Buddhism and Jainism. There will be definitely one question from Buddhism or Jainism in every year's paper, and sometimes they ask both. So you have to give separate emphasis on Buddhism and Jainism. And this was the last year's question. Consider the following: depiction of a Buddha, trading the path of bodhisattvas, image worship, and rituals. Which of the above are the future features of Mahayana Buddhism? So you should know what is Mahayana Buddhism and what are its features in order to answer this question. You should be 100% sure in order to attend this question, else let it go. And the third question is your current affairs linked with your history basics. See, this was the last year's question. Which one of the following is not a Harappan site? So Harappan site was in the news at least 3 to 4 months before the prelims last year, and when you see these four, Chavdaro, Kodiji, Shaw, Gaugra, Desalpur, this you should be able to understand like which of this is not a Harappan site. I have mentioned this because Harappan sites was there in the news in kind of February or March of this year, and the paper was on June 2nd. So it was definitely taken from your current affairs. And if you had known at least two sites, you could have eliminated them and then went with an elimination method to solve this one. So this is how you should solve it. So to learn ancient history the right way, you should know the sequence of events, like which happened first and which happened next second, like Vedic era and the Harappan civilization, or Harappan civilization and the Vedic era and the Mauryans. You should know the sequence in order to understand it better and logically solve the questions. If you know the sequence, you can even do elimination sometimes. And there will be a question from Harappan civilization. There will be one or two questions from Buddhism and Jainism. Bhakti movement also can be considered here, and kingdoms and relevant current affairs in news like Ashoka this year. So kingdoms, the Mauryas, Mahajanapadas, and everything up to your Gupta age comes under this one. So try to link them with the current affairs. If something or a new inscription or a new statue or something comes up with, link it and study it a bit deeper. That is the right way to study the ancient history, and you need not dig it more. Just emphasize more on whatever happening around in the news and then dig it a little bit deeper. You need not memorize those stuffs and leave the rest in the choices if you don't want to take risk. This is kind of tricky one where you either know or you don't know the answer, so you can't take much of risk out here. So learn ancient history the right way, don't skip it off, and all the best for your preparation. Prepare well and prepare well in the right way. And this is CiviliZthan. Do share this video and subscribe to the channel if you find it useful, and like it and comment us your feedbacks below. Thank you and cheers. Meet you in another video.